Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. We're getting out of here and going herping today. Well then, I'm taking the day off because I'm not trying to get herpes. I'm going out looking for snakes, Kent. Well, that's even worse. I'm out of here. No, you gotta stay for Kent's Corner and I need you to film the sponsored part of this video. Dang it. Speaking of which, thanks to Repticasa for sponsoring this video. More on them later. Full disclosure, I'm actually not going herping today. I've already gone. You see, most of you were fooled by my disguise. A lot of you think that it's past Bob talking to you right now. But no, it's future Bob, and I've already gone herping. Without getting too deep into the time travel aspect of this episode, I recently went on 2 herping trips. One of them south of San Diego near the Mexican border with my buddies Eric and Adler. And the second one was in the forest of Idlewild by myself. I just had a couple hours. I was in Idlewild for other reasons. Full disclosure, not many snakes were found on either trip. We did find some, but not many. But that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of the video is to answer questions that I missed on the last few live streams. I do a live stream once a month, and there are a ton of questions, and I miss a lot of them. So I'm going to be answering those. I'm just going to cut back and forth between these 2 trips. Let's go. I have a lot of questions to get to, so I'm not going to do a ton of filler in this video, and I'm not going to read the question. I'm going to put it up on the screen. So if you're watching this video while cleaning snake cages or doing your dishes or whatever, you're not going to know what the question is, but you can probably figure it out based on context clues. Here we go. I don't recommend heat lights for, or lights for heat. I recommend that you change those lights out to a CHE because then you can have a non-lighted heat situation, and then you can leave them on 24 hours. But you definitely don't want lights in your snake's enclosure for 24 hours. Snakes shed when they're ready. Mine shed about every 6 weeks or so, but sometimes they take a lot longer, and sometimes they shed one right after the other, and it's nothing to worry about, really. How often should you see urates in your enclosure? That's a good question, because you're not going to see poop very often, but you will see urates a lot more often than poop. It's not something you have to worry about too much. They'll go when they're ready to go. Usually a snake will pee maybe a day or 2 after they eat, and then they might do it again in between meals, maybe. But again, not something you need to worry too much about unless your vet has told you to keep track of it for some reason. I get people asking about what temps I personally use for my ball pythons. I keep them cooler than what's recommended. Recommended is 80 on the cold side, 90 on the warm. And I go with 87 to 88 on the warm side. I think that for many species, we keep them a little bit too warm. And for most of my ball pythons, I think 90 is a little bit warm for them. They digest just fine at 86, or I mean 87, 88, something like that. Number one place to get isopods and springtails, right here where we are. Are there isopods down there? They're huge. Look at that. They're all over the place. Look at that guy. But realistically, a local place, isopods and springtails, you can order them, but they'll show up dead a lot of times. The nostrils are for smelling, because even though snakes have a Jacobson's organ where they're picking up scent particles, they also actually smell and breathe through their nose. I don't remember what brought that question up in the live stream. I think we were talking about heat pits or maybe the Jacobson's organ or something like that, but snakes do breathe through their nose. They also breathe through their glottis, which is in their mouth. And they smell just like we do, but their sense of smell is probably not very good, I would think. If it's a ball python, they'll burrow if you have a bioactive enclosure. And that's okay. They can burrow. As far as feeding, just do the feeding tip that I always, anytime you have a snake that's in a hide or in a burrow or whatever, when you're feeding, their enclosure should be scented with that food, and when if they're going to eat, they'll come out when they smell that food. So I take a hairdryer and just blow. If you're just feeding one and you don't have your room scented, just take a hairdryer and blow it on that animal, and they will come out from their burrow or their hide or whatever and get that meal. I just want to make it clear that I'm riding in the back seat of Eric Lee's vehicle, just in case you saw that weird camera angle and thought that I was driving some sort of strange one-seated clown car. I'm not. Does B. Arthur still sleep in a flower pot? Yes, she does still sleep in a flower pot, and she is awake often in a flower pot too. I feed at night usually, so I don't leave food out the night before because then it would be sitting for too long. But I just put the rodents in a plastic bag and put those in cool water to thaw, and once they're thawed, then I put them in hot water. I use a plastic bag just because I don't like to deal with wet rodents. The thing is, snakes always want another meal. They are opportunistic feeders, and if they've just eaten a meal, they think there's more around, and they want to fill up their belly because they don't know when the next one is going to come. So feed your snake an appropriately sized meal, preferably one prey item, and then it's up to you to sort of regulate their feeding. Now, if your prey item is half the size that they normally would eat, then go ahead and feed them a second one. But you don't want to overfeed just because it looks like your snake is hungry. Snakes don't get hungry like mammals do. They are always looking for food because they just don't know. They don't know what your feed schedule is. Just be careful of not overfeeding your snake because you think they might be still hungry. Man, this is a big hill. I can do a big hill. I can get some exercise in this morning. I think in most cases, belly heat is much better than side heat or back heat in a tub, but that depends on how hot your room is inside. Wow, that's a big fresh poop from something. Mountain lion? Maybe. What was I talking about? Right, belly heat. A lot of people make back heat work really well, but their room is probably pretty warm and their heat tape is cranked up pretty high because it's not in contact with the plastic on the tubs. So it depends on your situation, but in most cases, belly heat is the way to go if you're keeping your snakes in tubs. You know, sometimes their color will just change. Sometimes they'll have good color, sometimes not so good. And no, there's probably no ovulation happening or any sort of crazy breeding activity or reproduction activity with your snake if you haven't been breeding her. My recommendation on handling your snakes is if you're feeding a moderate-sized meal, you know, small to moderate, 24 hours is fine. Give them 24 hours to digest. If there's still a lump in their belly, or if you gave them something big, give them a couple days. Maybe 3 days if you want to. That's my general rule. My mom asks, what does a Tanzania look like? I think we were talking about green Tanzanias because I was expressing my jealousy that Roger Gray of Gray Family Snakes has a couple Tanzanias. They look like this. They can be red or green, and they are delightful. Also known as Madagascar tree boas. Is Handsome Dan still in quarantine? He was at the time of that live stream. He's not anymore, though. He's kind of in soft quarantine. I still have him in the quarantine room. All of his panels came back good. He's healthy. Little gopher.
Are you recording, or you want me to record?
Yeah, go ahead and record. You guys, we got something. We got a little gopher snake who's not yet musking on me because I'm trying to be chill with him. So cool.
That's a good sized gopher.
Pal. Maybe we'll grab that vent just in case he decides to musk.
Nice and full, is it? Nice and healthy.
Yeah. All right, we found something. You guys, there are snakes in California, as it turns out.
It's crazy how far people have gone back here to dump stuff.
So we found a Mario Brothers graveyard. I'm only including the most important questions here, and Mando asks, sup? It's a good question. I'm just, looking for snakes. Thanks for asking. Am I still enjoying that cocoa husk product that I was testing? That's a great question and a really good transition to talk about today's video sponsor. Repticasa contacted me a while back about doing a how-to video on their Amazon page and sponsoring a Greenroom Pythons video. They're one of the pure cocoa husk companies that I had never tried before. So they sent me a bunch of product and I've been using it for a while and I really like it. But when we're talking about pure cocoa husk, it doesn't really matter if I like it for my snakes in my situation. So let me just tell you what the difference is. In the compressed block form, it's big chunks. This is the biggest of any product I've tried. I love this for my adult snakes because each of these big chunks acts as a sponge that holds water and keeps the humidity up. Now, I wouldn't want these necessarily for my younger snakes, my little snakes. Just in case one of these accidentally got ingested, it could be bad news. It's unlikely to happen, but it would be bad if it did. Fortunately, Repticasa has bags of loose chip that don't need to be rehydrated. These come in small, medium, and large sizes. This bag that I happen to grab is the large chip, which is actually smaller than the block. But I have small chips in with some of my hatchlings right now. I'll show you some B-roll of that. What I love about this is these bags are almost all just chip. There's almost no loose fiber and almost no dust in the bag. Repticasa has a full line of substrates, including coconut core in loose and compressed block form. I actually used some of this loose stuff in the inspector's bioactive enclosure. So I did that how-to video for Repticasa's Amazon page, and I had Echo with me during it, and as you might imagine, she got into some shenanigans. So if you want to see that video, there's an Amazon affiliate link in the description of this video, and that'll take you to the product, and you just scroll through their picture gallery that's on the left-hand side of the page, I guess, and the very last picture is that video. I am quite enjoying the Repticasa Cocoa Husk. I have it in almost all of my snakes enclosures right now, and it holds heat really well. Nope, it doesn't hold heat. Holds humidity really well. Oh, silliness. All right, let's find some snakes. Come on now. You know, sometimes you get a snake that just loves to drink water. I have one that is at her water bowl constantly. Not really a problem, though. Nothing to worry about. I think a lot of people are hesitant to get a ball python because they feel like they might get one that doesn't eat. And the fact is that there are a lot of ball pythons who don't eat, but there are more who do eat. So it's also a lot of first-time keepers for snakes. So for people who haven't had snakes and they're hesitant to get a ball python, there are snakes that eat better. But also, a ball python is a great first snake to get, and there are plenty of ways to get them to eat. I use Husbandry Pro, and I like it. It takes a while, though. Like, I used to just use a notebook, and I think if you have under 10 snakes, a notebook is a great way to go.
Trello.
Do you agree, Adler? What's yours, Adler?
If you have a little bit amount of snakes, Trello. The Trello boards, those are great.
Okay, I know nothing of that. Trello, you guys. I just learned something. Thanks, Adler. That's actually a really good question, because you would think that the more traits you pile on, the more genetic problems you would have. But no, that's not really the case. But what is the case is that airplane is flying really loudly. There should be an ordinance against that. But no, not really more, you know, there are traits that cause genetic anomalies. I'm looking for snakes as I'm talking, you guys. There are traits that cause genetic anomalies, but it's not like the more you stack on, the more problems you're gonna have. That's not a thing. There's no snakes here where I'm looking. I don't recommend covering vents. Those are for airflow, and air circulation is important. So don't cover those vents. If you have a screen top, you want to cover that, but you want a little bit of airflow. Covering a screen top, usually you've got an opening for your heat element, something like that, and that's enough airflow. Hi, squirrels. Oh, you're not going to be able to see them with this camera. This camera makes things look further away. Objects in mirror may seem further away. Squirrels in mirror seem further away. Hi, squirrels. How's the chonky new baby? That is referring to Jenny Craig. She's doing well on her diet. She's eating small rodents and chicks every other meal. And she will go back to a regular meal of probably just small rats here pretty soon. But I've given her several months now for her digestive system to get back to normal. So she's doing well. Let's talk about my live streams while I'm appropriately standing next to a stream. You know, one of the things that I love about these live streams is that there is a pretty good sized group of people that jump in who are very experienced, and I can't look at all the questions as they come through, but what's happening is a lot of these other people who are very experienced are answering new people's questions. If I can get to the question, or if I see it, I'll answer it. But while my live stream's happening, there's always side discussions in the chat about snake stuff. And it's really cool how this community has come together and become sort of a positive source of information for new people and for experienced people that are experiencing something for the first time or whatever. So if you're able to make it to a live stream in the future, make sure that you're in the chat so that you can get in on those conversations. I'm really happy with the way these live streams have evolved, and very thankful for the group of people that are there on a regular basis and welcoming the new folks and helping people out. It's cool. It's a good, positive place to be, I think, anyway. Come to a live stream. Is this stream too loud? Did this video clip even work? I don't... Dang it. I hope it works, because, man, talking about a live stream next to a stream, that's a brilliant... It's probably my best idea this month. Aw, man, I missed Kent. Yeah, you missed Kent. Here's another one. Where's Kent? That's a common question. Kent is not often at the live streams, but fortunately for those folks, he is often in these videos.
So instead of getting a day off while Future Bob is in there just editing, I have to be at work, working. Now, if I was at home, I would get to sit outside. I have a little table right in the corner of my mom's house. There's some plants and a bush. It's very nice. I call it my corner. Thank you for watching Ken's Corner. Oh, the one at my mom's house is better.
We're gonna go off lunch before we hit one more spot. The 1,000-gram wall is not something that happens to every ball python. It's just a relatively common thing, and who knows how long it'll last. So it's tough to say if your snake is gonna hit that wall and stop eating, and who's to say what that is also, because it's just a guess. It's pretty common for a female to go off food at 1,000 grams. I have a couple that are off food right at around 1,000 grams. One that's just started again. She probably went off food for, not off food, but for 6 months. She took only a couple meals. So you just never know, but not a big deal. It's fine. They'll eat when they're ready. That's a great and timely question, because we just did one over on Patreon, and I plan to do more. If you're on patreon.com/Greenroom Pythons, you can get in on those Zoom calls. Those are fun because it's not just me talking, it's everybody. We're having a conversation and showing animals and stuff like that. It's fun. Oh, look at that.
He's getting ready to move. I wonder if that's the one I found earlier this season. Might be. Looks perfectly striped.
You guys, look at this little king snake. He's already peeing on me, and that's not going to smell good. And look at this beauty stripe. I mean, that was totally worth being out in this field and get peed on.
It's like a perfect stripe almost. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. He's a beautiful little guy. Scissors. I have some good barber scissors and clippers. I use those too. I've had a lot of practice doing it. I bet we could do an all-day live stream and people would be in and out. Maybe we'll do it one of these days, but not anytime soon. Sorry. If I had seen this question during the live stream, I totally would have signed off with a little mandolin. But since this is a produced video, well, I guess we can do it here too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.
That took me forever to transfer that song from banjo to mandolin. I'm not that talented. But anyway, check out the video that's on screen.